Across to the big focus story on Mirror now. The minor who survived a molestation bid in Aurangabad is still hospitalized. The minor, who is a NEET aspirant and had scored 97% in her board exams, was traveling in an auto rickshaw and was forced to jump off the speeding moving vehicle in order to escape the sexual advances of the auto driver. The teen has sustained severe head injuries and is currently undergoing treatment at a hospital. Thankfully, she is out of the ICU. The accused has been booked under POCSO Act and sent to 2 days police custody. Aurangabad Police Commissioner visited the hospital and met the girl's family this morning. Meanwhile, Mirror now also spoke to the Maharashtra Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister over the incident, which has again brought the spotlight back on women's safety.
Was talking about the health status of the survivor. Now she is out of danger. She is out of ICU after battling her life for 3 days being in ICU. She is finally out and she has been shifted to general ward. The information what we have got from the medical supervisor who was keeping a track on her health update is that she had met internal injury on her head portion, but luckily she is doing fine now. She is interacting with the parents and she is responding very much fine. And when it comes to the kind of action what is being taken, now the accused was arrested within 12 hours of time span and he was sent to police custody for 2 days. Tomorrow his police custody ends. Now this is also important to see what course of action does police have in their mind, whether they have to extend their police custody or not, whether the interrogation is over or not. But the kind of statement what the accused gave while having through the police interrogation is quite shocking. Firstly, he stressed on the point that he had a fight with his wife. Secondly, he was under the influence of alcohol. And then when the girl showed her hands to get into the auto, he had already taken the girl back just 7-8 days back. So he recognized the minor. And then he stopped the auto, and then while the girl boarded the auto, the man absurdly started giving remarks and started asking questions which made her grow too much uncomfortable.
Well, this is a story that Mirror now has been tracking. We are running a campaign, and you can also tweet to us, tagging us at @Mirror Now using the hashtag #EndTheFear. You can write to us about your experiences that you have faced related to road safety for women. Meanwhile, Aurangabad MP Imtiaz Jalil has questioned law enforcement agencies over this incident. Listen in.
What I'm telling is you need a separate branch now of the police to handle only such type of cases. You know, police are engaged in bandobas. You have 6 ministers in Aurangabad. Hundreds of policemen are deployed for their security. Right. If those policemen are removed from the security of all these MLAs and all these ministers, right, they can be utilized for cracking these type of cases. Right.
At the same time, we are seeing Vishaka Samiti, which has been only for the women's security in Aurangabad.
Those are all bogus things. Those are all bogus. Those are all committees which nothing happens.
Well, as we were saying, Mirror now is tracking this campaign, women's safety on the streets. Maharashtra horror in broad daylight. Girl was forced to jump off a moving auto because of the auto driver seeking sexual favors from a teenager who now we know was a NEET aspirant. She scored 97% in her boards, and she was on her way back from her coaching center, and this is what she faced on the streets. Well, to talk more about this, former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray, has also reacted to the horrific incident, and listen in to what he had to say to us at Mirror Now.
छेड़छाड़ तो हो ही नहीं है, लेकिन अगर मंत्री भी महिलाओं के बारे में गलत सलत कुछ कहे तो क्या कार्रवाई हो रही है? ये कौन सा हिंदुत्व है? ये कौन सा हिंदुत्व है? क्या विचार है? ये क्या बाबा साहब के विचार है? जो बात कही गई कि सोच जो होती है खून में नहीं विचारों में होती है, क्या विचार ये सोच बाला साहब की है? तो ठीक है, इसके ऊपर बहस अभी मैं ठीक नहीं मानता, क्योंकि बहुत लंबी चलेगी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस।
Well, the Aurangabad incident has once again brought the horrors of travelling alone in public transport for women, where women's safety is a concern. Mirror Now Shweta spoke to the survivor's father, who demands death penalty for the accused. Listen in.
End the fear. Well, this is what we are trying to convey to our viewers and also to the authorities when it comes to women's safety. To talk more on this, the Aurangabad horror story, we are joined by the victim's father. He is Mr. Pradhan, and very horrific information in fact emerging out. Sir, शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए. आप कितने दिन से अस्पताल में हैं, पहले ये बताएं.
अभी 5वां दिन है मैम आज का. 5 दिन से हम आईसीयू में 4 दिन थी. अभी कल से उसको आईसीयू के बाहर निकाला. 4 दिन आईसीयू में थी. आज का 5वां दिन है दवाखाने में. जी. हाँ.
हालत में सुधार हुई है? डॉक्टर से बात हुई?
ठीक है, डॉक्टर से बात हो गई. अभी ठीक है, आईसीयू से बाहर उसको निकाला है, मगर अभी ठीक है. अभी
जी.
हाँ.
साथ में जानना चाहेंगे कि ये जो एक्शन था आरोपी को गिरफ्तार करने का, आप इससे सेटिस्फाइड हैं?
सेटिस्फाइड नहीं, उसको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा चाहिए, क्योंकि कैसा उसके बाद मेरे लड़की के साथ जो और किसी के साथ नहीं होना, ऐसा मैं चाहता हूँ. क्योंकि अपने गांव में, अपने शहर में, अपने खुद की से नहीं, बाहर गांव की भी बहुत लड़कियां, उनकी सुरक्षा भी सब हवे पे, उनकी भी कुछ सुरक्षा नहीं. जब अपन लोकल के रह के अपनी ऐसी कंडीशन है, तो बाहर वालों को अपन क्या सुरक्षा दे सकते?
बिल्कुल.
हाँ,
बिल्कुल. जानना चाहेंगे, ये जो घटना हुई, नीट कोचिंग क्लासेस से आपका घर कितनी दूरी पे था?
एक 15 मिनट के फासले पे घर था अपना.
जी.
वहाँ से नजदीक.
जी.
हाँ.
सर, किसी प्रकार की जान पहचान थी ऑटो रिक्शा ड्राइवर की और पीड़िता की?
नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं. क्योंकि खाली एक बार बैठ के आई थी, तो उस टाइम में वो रिक्शा में लेडीज थी, और वो कल बैठ के आई तो वो अकेली थी. हाँ. वो बोला मैं सीट भरता बोले आगे रिक्शा में, और उसको अकेली को लेके आया वो गाड़ी में. जी. हाँ. हाँ.
यहाँ पर अभी कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस भी आए, तो किस तरीके से बात हुई? क्या आपको आश्वासन दिया गया उनके द्वारा?
आश्वासन कुछ दिया गया है नहीं, मगर पूछताछ हो गई. तबियत पानी उसकी कैसी है, कैसे क्या गिर गई.
Joined on this broadcast by Kumar Ketkar, who is a Rajya Sabha member. Mr. Ketkar, thank you for joining us on Mirror Now. This is a very grave issue. Women have for years been screaming our lungs out regarding women's safety on roads, in public transport. Do you think that this is the final nail in the coffin where this should be raised in the parliament? Would you willingly want to raise this in the parliament?
Well, actually speaking, we have raised similar issues on same subject, on same themes in Parliament several times before. It is not for the first time such things have happened. Thank God that the girl is safe and happy and live. Otherwise, we have taken even serious notes of more serious conditions of the same type of attitude towards women. So the question is, it is not merely a legal criminal issue. It is an issue of attitude of the male chauvinist kind among all males. All males have to introspect. All men have to look within themselves, because this is not only a situation with the rickshawala. It is often a crime by the officers, male officers, even in offices. It can be banks or administrative offices. So this particular attitude, this particular approach, even in the media houses, there has been so much written in media houses also about this. So it is a question of male attitude, and that has to be controlled. It cannot be done merely by law. It will have to be done at sociological level, and not just by counseling, but having a firm action on the one hand, and on the other hand, regular counseling, regular attitude change issues, behavior change issues in offices and elsewhere. So I think it is a very serious matter. It must not repeat itself, and it will require a relatively long-term solution. It will not happen overnight.
Definitely, Mr. Ketkar, and you have been somebody who has associated himself many times with women liberation movements, and as you said, offices to be safe spaces, colleges to be safe spaces. But with sexual harassment committees being in place in organizations, that is one thing that's sort of taking care of at least office spaces. But we are talking about law and enforcement on the streets. She jumped out of the auto because there was nobody else she could have asked for help. There was no checkpoint. There was no police standing around. There was nobody she could have heckled. Even when she fell down from the auto, they were the good Samaritans on the roads who went out to help her. But there was no other person from the government, from law enforcement, from any other agency on the streets. So what are your views on public spaces for women?
I think I did say that it is also a criminal and legal issue. It is also an issue of police administration. And unfortunately, police administration generally is weak. And particularly on these issues, they are quite indifferent. Even after the males of similar nature are brought to police custody, the police themselves, we are not sure whether they behave properly. So again, it comes to the same question. Law and crime order, entire thing, law and punishment, crime and punishment order cannot solve this. It will have to be a question of male attitude, but what you say is absolutely right. Law will have to be tightened. Criminal law will have to be tightened about this, and the cities and the streets, night or day, must be given adequate protection. And that, unfortunately, is not happening.
Yes, Mr. Ketkar, very important point there you raised about how even going to a police station, I don't know how many women actually feel that even police is sensitized enough to take a woman's complaint seriously. But moving to public transport, right, there are a lot of private companies now who have a panic button or an SOS button in mobile apps as well as in the vehicle. This might be a solution for even government or, government-owned vehicles, public transport, to sort of maybe encapsulate this part, maybe have some better tech where we can have a panic button. That can be a good relief measure for public transport.
These situations of panic buttons and even instant telephone calls, they are all, basically post-crime. What we are trying to discuss is how to prevent this crime in the first place. So after somebody is molested, if she, presses a button, tries to inform police and police come, it will only increase more kind of cases because many people are likely to report such crimes. But what we are discussing is not post-crime or post-mishandling, but before that crime, first situation, it must not happen. So what is the approach? Now, if the women are afraid of even police stations, I know many women who are afraid of police stations or going to police stations. And therefore, I think it will have to be a very comprehensive approach. Police must increase their, kind of caution and attention on the streets, and the police stations also must be good. And moreover, women police stations must be increased. There are some proposals with the police commission that there have to be women police commissioners and women police officers and exclusive women chowkis in various places so that women chowki can be approached by that so-called alert button. So unless there is woman inquiry, separate woman inquiry, woman police inquiry, this won't be brought under control. But woman police inquiry, women police stations will definitely bring it under some check.
Absolutely, Mr. Important points there, especially the women only chowkis, the pink police as we know it. Recently, we also had buses driven by women. We had cabs being driven by women. That does actually instill a lot of confidence for a woman who is using any kind of public transport to sort of feel safe in that. So that has definitely helped. But across the length and breadth of our country, it can be a very difficult thing to accommodate across every chowki in every little town and every little street of our country. Do you think any other proposal maybe that you have sort of submitted in the past, or something that you're going to go with in the next upcoming parliament session, maybe where we can use technology, maybe we could use some sort of a grievance redressal, maybe sensitize the police? Any aspect of this proposal that you can share with us and our viewers?
No, emergency button is definitely one improvement. The second improvement is women police stations exclusively with police staff, which is women police staff. And third is having rather strict punishment to those who are proved to be sort of offenders. And the strict punishment also can, it has not been proved that stricter punishment always reduces crime. But even then, stricter punishment does get a kind of a psychological, kind of understanding among the people that there is going to be strict punishment. And so there will be what you can call some check on the crime like this.
Mr. Khetkar, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and sharing all your views. It was a pleasure having you on this show. We can go across to Manisha Kyande, who is joining us. She is spokesperson Shiv Sena of Uddhav Thackeray camp, and we are joined by Manisha on this broadcast. Manisha, thank you for joining us on this broadcast. To start with, Manisha, a very, very horrific incident has happened. This is not the first time. This is the second time that this has happened in a month's time in the state of Maharashtra. Several questions being raised on what the government is doing to ensure women's safety on the streets of Maharashtra. The first one being in Thane, the Chief Minister's constituency. The second incident within a month happening in Aurangabad.
Well, this was one more horrible incident that happened in Aurangabad and in Maharashtra. I think that we need to totally modernize the taxis and rickshaw services, any public commutation service. And they need to be app-based, use of technology and tracking of the drivers, complete character, or you can say like you open a bank account, you need a KYC. So I think all these things are in place when somebody applies for a rickshaw or people apply for taxi. But I think that we need to do a complete overhauling of the system and tracking of every public vehicle. This is very important because, and safety, like sensitization of the drivers, sensitization of the girls in colleges, in schools. I think that the girls to be trained, and the rickshawalas, I think they should be rickshaw or taxi. I'm not just being particular to the rickshaws, but they need to be gender sensitized. They need to bear some character certificate, and their past antecedents need to be checked. I think that many things can be done if we put our heads together. We can come out with wonderful solutions and more use of digitalization. Even if there is a payment app.
Absolutely, ma'am. Very interesting point, sir. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. In fact, we were just discussing that earlier with, I think we lost Manisha Kyande's line, but very interesting points that she raised, sensitizing drivers, sensitizing rickshaw drivers, sensitizing bus drivers, using technology, proper tracking of why just a private service that you hail, but also a public transport that you are using. Because, you know, in a bus, maybe there are more than one people, but in an auto rickshaw, in a three-wheeler, it is just probably one single girl, as we saw in the case of the Aurangabad horror. We will continue to raise questions and fight relentlessly to get justice for India's daughter. You can also tweet to us using @MirrorNow and use the hashtag #EndTheFear to have women roam around fearlessly on the streets of India. Well, to stick with this story itself, Mirror Now's Shweta has recreated the journey that the teen took 5 days back, which ended in a traumatizing experience for her. And let's quickly cut to what she saw there.
Spine-chilling incident reported from Aurangabad where a minor takes up the auto to leave towards her home. She is a NEET aspirant. After finishing her tuitions, she decides to take the auto and leaves for home. But what happens next is a strong concern about women's safety for all the women. What we understand while taking the ride in the auto rickshaw is both the ends of the auto rickshaw is open. And now one can imagine if a passenger is sitting here, she has no safety. The passenger has no safety rods across either sides of the auto rickshaw. But what's more shocking here is to understand the kind of statement they accuse the auto rickshaw driver has given to the police during the interrogation. He said that because he had a fight with his wife, he had been into alcoholic state. He was in an inebriated state, and while the girl, the minor, showed her hands to stop the rickshaw, he took her inside the rickshaw and started talking absurd things. And in utter fear, she decided to jump off the running auto. Here the speed is quite controlled. It is quite limited speed while we are shooting this entire narrative walkthrough from the spot where the girl took the auto towards her home. But very importantly, she decided to save her modesty. She decided to save her life from the evil eyes of the auto rickshaw driver who was giving such obscene remarks towards her, and she just jumped off the auto. Well, we have reached to the spot where the girl decided to jump off from the auto. In fact, I'm showing you the correct visuals of this particular spot where very ruthlessly the auto rickshaw driver overspeeds his auto rickshaw and he escapes. He runs away, but the victim lies down right here asking for help. Now see, exactly that's the CCTV footage where the entire incident was captured, and here there were few people who decided to help the survivor, but the story here is all about the ordeals the minor went through the entire time sitting in the auto rickshaw and feeling uncomfortable, and finally decides to save her life by jumping off the auto.
That's all we have.